Hi, aloha, and welcome to the Empowered Empath podcast. My name is Jennifer O'Neill.
And I'm Michelle Schneider. Just giving you a friendly reminder that if you like today's topic, to please give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and if there's any questions that come up along the way, you can leave those in the comments.
And we did get a question in the comment, or was it a comment in the comment? I don't know. Anyways, I know that there's been some people wanting to hear some more about spiritual stuff. And I was going to mention that the other day, like just spirit activity type of things.
I was going to say spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
That's a pretty broad topic.
Yeah. Spirit as in T. I know that we need to get to some of those subjects as well, but we've had a lot of frequency stuff, weird energies going on, and things that are sort of time sensitive. And hey, this is what's happening right now. So while we will get to those, we will get to more, spirit talking about actual spirits. We have made sure that we're giving you a lot of information pertinent to, what's happening energetically. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more today on something that I've noticed that people are really struggling with. But yet, I think that this is going to be a habit thing that a lot of people have formed. And it's not great for your frequency. Everybody's kind of stressing right now in this transition, trying to navigate their own frequency, trying to figure out why things are happening. And speaking of why things are happening, we had somebody comment in the Empowered Empath app. If you haven't taken a look at that, there will be a link below. You should check that out, about all the electronic issues going on right now. And wow, with this new transitional energy, my goodness, I have a light that has not worked for like 8 months all of a sudden just started working out of the blue. I have another light that woke up one morning, just everything quit in it. The fan, the light, everything. My husband tears everything apart, the light switch, the whole 9 yards, and we're just stumped. Why is it there's electricity going to it? Nothing's making sense. We leave, we come back in 24 hours, the fan's working properly, like nothing's ever happened. Like, my goodness, I'm telling you, it's nuts. Things are, anything electronic is acting up. Even my husband's truck, he went out to start it, and he comes in and goes, I think my truck shorted out. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing. And he goes, yeah, it made this weird, like, electrical noise. And then, of course, we come back and now it's working fine. So it's like, what is happening? The energy is really intense, and it can mess with electronics, any type
Wi-Fi.
of,
I was going to
yes,
say mine was,
Wi-Fi.
I had Wi-Fi issues where it went out completely for a couple people in the neighborhood. And then they fixed it. And then it was just being really weird the other day. I was trying to get stuff done. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to take this as a sign that I need to
Yes,
stop working.
right? Yes. I don't even want to say that I need signs to stop working, because my daughter told me I should put my computer in a lockbox the other day. So I don't want anything happening to my computer. I don't want anything happening to, my work stuff. So we'll just table that part of the subject. Anyways, one of the things I wanted to talk about today that me and you talked a little bit about another day, is how people tend to not understand their own frequency. And it causes a lot of issues regarding several areas of your life. This is why it's important. People talk about, a spiritual awakening, having their best vibe, their highest frequency, all of the things. And they don't really get into, I feel like, the reasoning behind why these things are important. Everybody just wants to feel enlightened, and they think more towards like manifestation and things of that nature, which those are all good things. And those are things that are married somewhat to your frequency. So if you are interested in those things, that is another good reason to understand your frequency and be able to, what was the word that we were talking about earlier? It wasn't diagnose. It was kind of
read your own
read.
frequency.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Read your own frequency. And this is really important to navigating through life. And it's going to be very important to several things as far as money flow, relationships, and health. I mean, these are the most important things usually to people, is surviving via money flow, their interpersonal relationships and or just relationships in general. These are very important. And health. These are the three areas that should be mostly your primary focus if you know, as you're navigating through life. And your frequency absolutely affects those. So here's what I've noticed. Most people not just don't know what their frequency is, while that is the underlying cause of the problem, they try to trick themselves into feeling as if their frequency is better than it is.
It's called denial.
Yes, it is called denial. That is really good. They are in denial about what their frequency actually is.
I've been there.
I think everybody's been there. And so instead of seeing where you're at as far as Discord and all that stuff goes, we're famous people, humans are famous for candy coating their frequency and going, oh yeah, I got it handled, not even going to worry about it. You've essentially trained yourself over many, many years, yes, to be in denial about your frequency and figured out how to ignore it. I can't see it any other way. We've talked about this before, where, you know, people try to ignore certain aspects of their life, or, you know, they're trying to be very responsible people. And so they all think that they can handle things better. It's along those same lines, but basically it is training yourself to ignore your own frequency over the years. And then when stuff starts to go wrong, you start to look in all the wrong places. And therefore, things don't necessarily get better, but we're on this trail of chasing our tail, like legitly chasing our tail, because you don't know what you're looking for and how to read your own frequency. It's like that intentions thing that we talked about in another podcast. You know how I always would say that the words that are coming out of somebody's mouth or anything like that, that's never what I pay attention to. It's always the intention behind what they're saying. It's the energy behind what they're saying. Well, the same goes for everybody's frequency. If I meet with a client or, you know, a friend or a family member, or whatever, how are you doing? And they're like, oh, good. That is just so transparent for me. And they always say, oh, good, which is kind of weirdly confusing, because after the, oh, everything's going good, then I hear all the things that are going wrong. So I don't know how that works at all.
I mean, from somebody who does that, who's done that, I think we don't want to burden other people with our, you know, troubles. And there's this other aspect to it where just because one area of your life may be not so great, it doesn't mean that all areas of your life aren't so great. So it's like, just for a quick example, while my health wasn't doing that great, I was doing good in business. I was, you know,
Right.
still being successful. And so there were positive things. And so you don't always want to be a Debbie Downer on somebody and be like,
But
well, let me tell you my problem.
I'm gonna get to the Debbie Downer part, but what was the most important thing in your life at that time? What was your primary focus on?
Well, I mean, health was pretty big.
No, it was something else.
We're talking about relationship.
There we go.
Yeah.
That was in the forefront of your your livelihood in your head,
Yeah.
your happiness. That was where it is. So while business was going good and the relationship was not, then we have the results of the health stuff, which again is exactly what I'm talking about today. My point being, your frequency is still not good because your primary focus wasn't your business stuff. That's not where you were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Things are going really well. That's wasn't it as important to you. It wasn't as weighted during that time. And I agree. People do not want to say things are not going good. What I actually meant was most people who come to me who know I am a psychic and I do this work, they always tell me they're good, but then they end up, I'm kind of like a doctor in a sense that then they want to tell me all of the things and then how can I help them, work through it and whatnot. So that's more along the lines of what I meant. But yes, when you're meeting regular other people in your life, the classic answer would be, yeah, I'm good. Things are going well. For the most part, I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
That being said, when people do have health issues, and I do a lot of work with people that have health issues, they also go, oh, it's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's going wonderful. And as a healer, what people need to understand is I do not look at, I'm not reading your frequency from your words. Again, this is what you will train yourself to do as a healer. For those of you who are healers out there, you are looking past the words. You're looking past the body language. You're going into the frequency. That's what we're doing. We're reading the energy. We're reading the frequency. And so when I have clients that come to me, they're like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Yet maybe they're having a health issue. I'm like, you're so far off the track of fine. It is not even funny. Now, the issue with that is those people have usually convinced themselves that things are going okay. And so they become very confused themselves. They really, really do. I've honest to God had many clients that when they got to that space where they need some extra help, they need some extra clarity regarding like their health or whatnot, they're almost always truly dumbfounded at when I do the spiritual health mapping on where their frequency is in discord. Where did they get off track? They are so good at going, everybody does this, that happens to everybody, etc., etc., that they just are like, whoa, I did not see that coming at all. And in fact, it's become such a consistent habit and pattern for me to have this interaction with clients that when they come to me, which is often, and say, here, I'm feeling XYZ, here's my health issues, whatever, I'm pretty sure I know where it's stemming from. My initial response is, everybody says that, and so far nobody's been right. Swear to God, nobody has been right. They've come to me in Discord and they never can get it. They miss the mark completely.
Well, it's
And
usually like deeper than you possibly like realize. At least for me, it was like it was
Mhm,
way, way back in childhood where like there were some pretty like notable events in my life
mhm.
that would make you think, oh, this is probably where that's coming from. But
Yes.
I think it was deeper than you realize.
Weirdly enough, the biggest notable events that happen in people's lives, they actually spend a lot of time on what I call balancing. So they actually spend a lot of time balancing that energy until it's no longer in discord. It becomes an obsession. You think about it, you work through it 18 different million ways because it is a big event. The ones that are not as quote unquote traumatizing, I guess I would say, are the ones that get buried that are causing the biggest thorns. They are ones that you've dismissed. Now, they can still be very traumatizing events, but they're ones that you didn't make a big deal out of and you didn't like think about it a lot and have it be a primary focus. The ones that people I think would say spend a lot of time on and they become their primary focus, and everybody knows that they're having an issue with this relationship or this job or this whatever, those are the ones that tend to not cause people as much problems typically when I see them, because like I said, they're working through them 18 different ways. They're trying to figure out how to resolve that issue. It's the ones that you're not addressing that is the thorns that then you had to come see me for. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
So not all things will stem back to childhood, which is why I wanted to talk today. So there are 3 things that you are going to want to look for or pay very close attention to if you are trying to learn to read your own frequency. One of them is going to be dreams. The second is going to be your anxiety level. And the third is going to be health. And so I want to talk about these individually a little bit. There are going to be some people out there that are like, I don't remember my dreams. And I guess if you're not remembering your dreams, you can kind of just listen to this part. But there's usually reasons why people are not remembering their dreams. But that's another podcast. So that being said, energetic discord always shows up in dreams. It always shows up in your sleeping state. And I'm sure we've talked about this before on some other podcasts, but when you fall asleep, the reasoning behind that is your time that you energetically charge and you connect into the spiritual world. So dreams are confusing for a lot of people, or sleeping is confusing because they think that we go to bed and, like recharge our physical body. But there's been enough studies on that clearly showing that the physical body gets enough rest during the day when you're doing, whatever you're doing and sitting. But one of the things that people forget about is we are 50% physical. We are 50% spiritual in this life existence. And that means we live a large portion of our life in the physical world doing physical things. But we must connect in with the spiritual at the end of the day, daily. This is a must because that maintains a lot of our spiritual health, our spiritual connection. That's where we recharge on a spiritual level. So we recharge our physical body by eating, by resting, by all of those types of physical activities, walking, whatever. This is what allows our physical body to stay in proper shape. And people don't think about the other aspect of you being spiritual. So at night, that's when we spiritually take care of ourselves. There's a couple different reasons for this. You fall asleep, your resistance goes down. So this is been kind of what I call a built-in safeguard for us to spiritually connect in and charge our spiritual body, our spiritual self every single night. If we did not have this safeguard built in, who would stop and sleep to charge their spiritual body? Literally nobody. They would just live for days and days and days on end, no sleep. They would do all of the things that they thought was important. So thank God that's there. But the interesting thing about sleep and dreaming is this is your window into your spiritual self. This is your window into your vibrational frequency. This is where we are allowed to see if we're in discord or if we're in harmony, is through dreams. And I, of course, like I do not have enough going on, decided to work on a spirit journal because I talk about doing spirit journals all the time. And I am creating one now that's going to help with all the things we're talking about, the discord, the dreaming stuff, all of that. And it's going to get you some, it's going to get you there to where you're learning how to pay more attention to your frequency. Also, it's going to help you to connect your spiritual body with your physical body, but that's a whole nother thing. And we'll talk about that later. That being said, this is the window time. This is when you can look for discord. So if your dreams are feeling like, let me rephrase that. Look for the vibe of your dreams. That's going to tell you where you're beginning your day on your frequency. Where did you end your night on your frequency? If the vibe of the dream feels good to you, then great. You're in a good place, vibrationally speaking, the night before, that day, etc. If your dreams do not feel so good to you, they feel anxious, they feel worrisome, you feel confused, you feel lost, that's an issue. This is your first clue that your vibrational frequency is not in the best place. And so when we did the live coaching class with the the Empowered Empath app, I talked a lot about this because this is really, really important for you to understand how you're going to start your day and from what frequency standpoint that you're starting. I review my dreams and how I feel waking from them every single morning. There's not one morning in my personal life that I do not go back, review, and look for the tone of my dream. Always. I never don't do it because that is the first place I look to see if I'm in discord. And I did not realize how much of a habit I made of looking for any discord within my own frequency until I started noticing how much people ignore it. And so if anything's off to me, I will learn to take that information, which we're going to talk about in a minute after I go through a few of these other ones, and then I'm going to do some detective work and figure that out. So dreams is the first thing. Anxiety, your anxiety levels. That is your second sign of being in discord. If your anxiety levels are more consistent or on the higher side, you have an underlying energy of not being in flow. And that can be caused by a lot of different things, which we're going to talk about. The last thing that typically happens is you will have health things stem up, whether that be something as simple as, I don't know, a cold, a flu, to heart palpitations. Those are ones that I used to get when I was younger. So they're always a very good indicator of if I'm ignoring what my frequency is looking like right now. Just different types of health things, even aches and
I was
pains
gonna ask
within
that, like, tension in the neck and shoulders.
yes, aches, pains, headaches, anything showing up in the physical body, we want to then be a detective and go back. So that being said, what do? Let's say your dreams are off and they're feeling not so good for you. Maybe you're having a little bit of anxiety. Maybe you're having some aches and pains in your shoulders too. Or maybe you're just having one. The first thing that you need to do is you need to be a detective, truthfully, because when it comes to energetic discord, when it comes to our frequency not being in the best state that it's in, like I said, people have trained themselves from the get-go on how to ignore, ignore, ignore. And I can tell you for a fact, if you take an emotion and you stuff it way down inside and then you put a cork on it, you do all the things in your wheelhouse to forget about it. That doesn't make it not in your frequency. All it does is you ignore it. That's literally the only thing that's going on. It actually makes things worse. Putting a cork on your emotions, stuffing things down, absolutely does zero to getting yourself back in the flow again. It does the absolute opposite. It will keep you in discord.
So, this is what the challenging aspect of all of this was, because when I first started getting sick in 2007, I didn't know anything about
Mhm.
spirituality. All I knew was that I was getting sick. I was severely sick, and then the doctors are telling me that I have specific diagnoses. So now all I'm thinking is there's something wrong with me. There's a medical reason behind this. And so
Right.
with all of that information, it's really hard to connect that bridge between emotions and health. And I
A
think
thousand
this is where a
percent.
lot of people get lost.
1,000%. And I think that everything you said is extremely accurate. And that's why I'm going to give you a little bit of a system to figure that out. When you get diagnosed with something, and you go to the doctor, there are diagnoses for a reason, because it does reflect within the physical body, and then they look and see all these abnormalities or things functioning not properly. That is when you're going to get a diagnosis. Some people are going to the doctor with just what you said, and they're being told, yeah, nothing's really wrong with you either, and then leave. Either way, diagnosis or no diagnosis, the body does not fail you. That the body is actually structured and meant to heal. There are so many researches done on this absolute same subject, with people getting placebos, thinking that they went into the same surgery all the other people went into, and they still heal at the same rate. Like, I mean, the healing research is out there, and it's been done very well. The body is meant to heal. Where it's not healing is when we cause ourselves discord. We cause ourselves a lot of issues, and then this gets into such a deep subject, which we might have to cover in a different podcast. But the frequency tells the body, your frequency, your spiritual body holds the information for the physical body, tells the physical body how to operate. So while, yes, the heart beats, the lungs breathe, et cetera, it continuously flows information on how the blood's flowing, and how the cells are supposed to be moving around, and how to create and do all the things. If there's a discord or resistance within the spiritual body, because the spiritual body, the emotional body, and the physical body are all one, it creates one unit, which is you. If there's a discord within the emotional body or the spiritual body, there is going to be a blockage in the physical body. It's not going to create the proper flow, the proper cells. It's not going to work properly. It's just not going to. And that gets into, like I said, a whole nother thing. What the point of this podcast is trying to read your own frequency, which means looking for the discord through, are you having any physical symptoms? Are you having any anxiety? And or what's the state of your dreams? Some people are going to know that, and some people are not going to. If you are falling amongst the category that those things are not looking awesome, your anxiety level, any physical symptoms, and or dreams, then you need to become your own detective. And this is why. Again, you've trained yourself from a very young age how to ignore your frequency. This is your indicator that your frequency is not doing well, and somewhere you messed up along the way. So I believe that, again, most people listening to the podcast, that is absolutely their mind space. That's where they're at. That's how we've trained our brain, and everybody around us is trained to think that that's how things work, when that's not how things work. The body is responding to a discord within your frequency. And this is something that, like I said, I'll probably have to do. Well, I will be writing a book on this, truthfully. And we'll have to maybe talk more and some other things about this, because it gets into a very deep conversation. So instead of getting into that deep conversation, I'll just have to explain to everybody that once we get to the symptomatic portion of your physical body reacting, it is reacting to discord. It's not reacting because your body's failing. Your body's not built that way. It's built to heal. Much research has been done on this. Placebo studies, etc. They know the body's meant to heal. They just don't take the time to spend going into something that they don't quite understand, which is your frequency and the energetic flow, and how the spiritual body, the emotional body, and the physical body work together as a unit. They just don't take time to understand that. And even in the parts where they do with the psychologists and whatnot, it's very disconnected. So it doesn't work the same way. And they're not even trained to look for energetic discord, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? What do you do if you're from that point where you're like, my dreams are screwed up, I'm having major anxiety, and I don't really feel that great? What do you do? Well, you have to become your own detective, because if that's the case, you're overlooking something. You're candy coating something in your life that is not sitting well within your frequency, therefore causing discord. And that is going to be extremely important information. So the first good news is you have information. You're in Discord. I mean, you may look at that as good or bad, but I look at it as good. I look at all of those signs is a good sign, because if I didn't get a sign, the dreams, the anxiety, or the health, I would never look for discord. And then if you don't look for it, you can't resolve it. So you would just live your life just being completely oblivious, doing the same thing over and over again. And then that's not going to go well. I'll tell you that. So the good thing is you are now aware that you are in discord. The second thing is, I can promise you that your brain and your self has been candy coating something for way too long. The third thing is, you need to now become your own detective. You need to start going back within, your current timeline, or depending on like how long you've had health issues, you might have to go back a few months, 6 months, a couple years, even depending on how long you've had them. And you need to start trying to find the root of the discord. If you find the root of the discord, everything else will fall into place like dominoes. And that's our goal. But our goal is to be smarter than ourselves, actually, which sounds really weird.
I was
We
just
have,
say it's really difficult though. And I feel like everybody who watches this and who this resonates with, they're going to be like, it's really difficult. If you're a sugar coater like I was, if you're in denial about what's truly going on, who do you talk to? How can you really, I mean, I didn't even uncover everything by myself. I don't know that I could. But then I
right.
start
And
sorry.
apparently the
Maybe that's a
computer
sign.
agrees.
But it took outside help for me to see things, but now that I've seen them, I can't unsee them. Now I'm
Right.
like, "Oh, it all makes sense now."
Right. Well, and for some people, they're going to need outside help. I mean, for some people, that's why I do the spiritual health mapping. It literally is this system of uncovering what it is that you're candy coating that you cannot see. That's usually for deep rooted stuff. But there's a simple system that you can do for things that are not so buried so deep that you can't find the bottom of it. If it gets to be where it's buried so deep you can't find the bottom of it, you may need some help and assistance to try to go back and figure out where the root of the issue is. The problem that I've seen with that, just my own observation, is I have a lot of clients that have come to me too that are looking for exactly this thing that we're talking about. They're trying to understand and find the discord within their frequency. A lot of those people have been to psychologists also and different things, and they just have been there for years and it's not helped. So a lot of people are not trained in this area. So you need to find somebody trained in this area, which would be, I feel, more along the lines of a healer or somebody who does what I do. Then you have somebody specifically trained in finding discord. Psychologists and psychiatrists, they're great, but they're trained in something else. It's not the same type of thing. But that being said, I truly believe you can find at least a little sprout of what is back there, the way that you can start tugging at it and figure out what the root of the issue is. And so what you would want to do is you start to be a detective. You start to go back and go, what emotions, what would be triggering these types of emotions? So let's say you had a dream that was fear-based, worry-based, that sort of thing. What would have happened in your life currently? Because dreams are more current. Dreams are typically something in your vibrational frequency that's happened very recent. They're not usually, unless it's a repetitive one over and over again, they're not usually like a long time ago trauma. They can be. Those will tend to be repetitive ones, and you will know that there's kind of a different time frame on it. You can usually feel that they're further back, right? But if you're feeling fearful, worried, anything like that, you go back and go, what's happened recently? Where can this possibly stem to? So you're looking for a connection now. Instead of going into denial, you're looking for a connection. What has worried me lately? Has there been a bill? Has there been a relationship issue? Has there been a health issue of myself or somebody else? Where has your been your most recent worry, your most recent fear? A lot of it will stem around relationships and money. Those tend to be very big ones. These are one of the areas, or two of the areas, that I would highly suggest you at least go through, and go through it in a way that is very neutral. When you're trying to read your own frequency, the success of somebody else reading you is there because they are not emotionally attached to anything that's happening in your life. That's where the hindrance can come in with you candy coating. Because let's take, for instance, a relationship. If you try to go backwards and go, well, how is my relationship going? Is there anything in this relationship that's making me feel unstable, fearful, unhappy, mad, like whatever those emotions may be that are not great? We have a tendency to justify. This is what you cannot do. Your job is not to be a detective, then go back and justify it, and then that balances it. That's how you got there in the first place. You got there in the first place by justifying these emotions and then going, okay, I'm that person. I'm going to think through this. That person is actually really good, and they did do this really nice for me. And, they do have good parts, and they do have good days. And that's enough for me. Candy coat, put a cork on it, stuff it down. That's how you got there, right?
I laugh because I have like a PhD in justifying stuff.
I think most people do. I really do. I think that is something that everybody is so skilled at. It is absolutely amazing. They're absolutely skilled at justifying, especially when it comes to their own life. Justifying how they feel negatively about something, justifying why that they look negatively at this, how they feel about this. It's just constant justifying. And they believe that that's balancing, and that's not what it's doing. You have to get to a place where you're seeing things very, I would say, factually, without some emotion intact, like almost in a way where you're viewing it from outside yourself. Like, pretend like it's a friend in your situation. That's always very helpful. Pretend like a friend is looking at your money situation, your relationship situation, your health situation, whatever. And if you are looking at yourself as if you're the friend, however you want to do it, however it works for you, they can be the friend, you can be the friend, whatever. But now we are pulling our emotions back. We're looking at it more factually. It allows you not to justify so much. It gets you to very much see the truth of the situation. And when we can see the truth, we can also see what choices we're making that is clearly adding to discord. And then that's when we start going, oh, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I know that this is adding to the problem. I knew this, I know it, but I don't want to change it. Let me again take something like, let me give you a couple different tricks. When we're talking about money, recently there's a lot of upheaval emotionally with money situations, people spending money on stuff, all the things breaking down. There's so many things breaking down. Cars, appliances right now, it's just crazy. I highly suggest, because this is what I did, people have an emergency credit card. Now, most of the people that I know, including myself, and I don't know, you have to weigh in if you do this, we have our regular credit cards and we have our our checking accounts and whatever. But when something breaks down, most of us want to be able to cover that out of our checking account or whatever. And then when it breaks down, we feel upset and frustrated because now we have to take money out of there that we never planned on taking money out of in the first place. If you have a credit card that is, or it could be like, you could put some savings money into a little account, but if you have it as in your emergency credit card, what happens is when you get that bill that you absolutely do not want to pay, which will be anything that was out of your realm of joy, It will be something that broke down, something unexpected. It'll be any of those things. Typically will spark something in somebody that's like, ugh, I do not want to pay this. This makes me mad. It makes me feel like I'm in a different place financially. That typically will happen. If you just go, you know what, that's what the emergency credit card's for, you don't swim in that energy. You do not allow yourself to stay in that discord for very long because you've already compartmentalized before it's even happened. When you compartmentalize before it's happened, that doesn't stay in your body. It moves over to the credit card, and we're like, oh, yep, that's what it's for. Not even going to worry about it. Going to put it on the credit card. Then the next month or whatever it comes by, if you have the money in your checking account, you can go ahead and pay the whole dang thing off. It doesn't matter. You can pay 30 bucks a month off on it. It doesn't matter. The point is we're now more detached from it. And it is a weirdest trick that works for a lot of people. It could be a line of credit, a credit card. You can make your own little bank account for just emergency stuff. But having an emergency, I want to say like category, compartmentalization place, whether that be a debit card, credit card, a line of credit, whatever it is, an emergency fund, and allowing any of those things to come up to just go straight to there, then you sort it out later. You diffuse the energy completely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is one of the best tricks you will ever learn. And in fact, I learned a really long time ago from Susie Orman when I was like in my 20s. I used to read financial books all the time. And one of her big things was you never want to write a check, which is interesting because she was in the financial space. You never want to write a check from a place of resistance. You never want to pay a bill from a place of resistance, ever. When you do anything with your money from a place of resistance, that's the frequency you're then sending out there. Not only are you sending it out there, but people tend to hold money frequencies within their body for long periods of time. They can actually get over relationship stuff quicker than they can with money discord. And so you need to have tricks sometimes to move that feeling out of your body, just displacing it. You're moving it over here. You're moving it to that credit card. You're moving it to that account, but moving it from your body so it does not sit there. That's going to be very important. Do you have an emergency credit card or like a thing that you use separately from your
Well, it was more of like it became one when I had a
it became
$500 plumbing bill, and it was like, how do I pay this? And then I believe I called you and was like, okay, well, you can get a 0%, APR
Mhm.
for 21 months. And it was like, I felt better about it then
Yes.
because it was like,
See,
okay,
yes. Oh, yes, that was what we did. And now it's your emergency credit card.
yeah.
And how quickly did that help you resolve it was pretty quick.
Yeah, it
For
made me
mine,
feel a lot better. Oh
yeah,
gosh, because I
real
was
quick.
very resistant for a while.
Yeah. And then your money flow stays good, that sort of thing. When it comes to relationships, that's another thing. I feel that it's really hard for a lot of people to be in toxic relationships, but it's also hard for them not to be in the toxic relationship. And so there's a couple things that you can do within a relationship. There are things where you can start trying to rework boundaries. That's a really good thing when you're in a relationship that's not working. Is there's going to have to be some type of conversation, there's going to have to be some type of awareness there where you're reworking the boundary with it. That the other thing is just having the conversation. People just want to avoid conversations at all costs on if things are going well or not going well. They don't want to discuss it. They just want it to not be a thing. So they kind of stuff all their feelings down, and then there's like no communication happening. You cannot live in a healthy relationship with no communication happening. And the fear of the unknown of the conversation makes people want to put a cork on the bottle and just not even address it. Well, now we're keeping that frequency of discord alive within our body, and it will affect different areas of the body. And then there's another one where people just know that maybe that's not what they're supposed to be doing, or the relationship they're supposed to be in, or they do not feel happy, but they justify being in it 16 ways to Sunday because of like kids, the length of the relationship, maybe being older and not feeling like that they would have a chance to be in a happy relationship. Now, I'm not suggesting that all these people leave their relationships, because that's not going to work for everybody. But there's going to be a point how you resolve that, because there will be people out there going, well, yeah, that's me, and I guess I'm just going to live in discord. That's not true. How you resolve that is you just accept the relationship for what it is. You stop offering resistance. The same way that you resist spending money on things you don't want to, and resist writing that check for whatever's broken down. Most people who are in unhappy relationships, they're very resistant to what's happening. And because they're justifying the relationship to themselves and possibly to other people, they fall into this pattern of just being resistant all the time. And that causes a lot of issues within the body. If you go, you know what? It is what it is, but this works for me. I don't want to make a change. I feel like it would upset too many things in my life. Then you need to just accept the relationship for what it is. You just need to let go, not be angry in the relationship. Relax into the relationship. Just accept it for what it is. That's the only way to resolve discord, is acceptance. Acceptance of the emergency bill coming in of something broke down, acceptance of your current relationship status, acceptance of your current job situation, and stop being angry about it. Stop having resistance to it. Stop tensing your body about it. If you're starting to notice that you're tensing, if you're noticing that you're feeling strong emotions that feel sad, overwhelmed, frustrated, unhappy, you have to learn to remove that from your body in a way that you've accepted it. And if you've accepted it, put your focus into something that is wonderful. Maybe you accept the relationship, but then put your focus into something that's very soul fulfilling. Put your focus into something that feels good to you. It might be going to the gym. It might be creating a business. It might be friendships. It might be travel. Do you see what I mean? It's like redirecting your focus into self and soul fulfilling actions and in experiences and events, instead of wallowing in discord because you feel frustrated in your current situation. And typically, you will find that if you focus more towards a soul fulfilling purpose or experience, it will automatically start aligning discord. It will automatically put a different type of energy right in the core of your body that then helps you to balance resistance energy. It almost neutralizes it, if you will, by putting your focus into things. Because when you put focus into things that your soul desires and that is really fulfilling for you on a spiritual level, now we're operating at a very high frequency. We are connecting and we're tuning into a high frequency energy. So then when we have low energy things happening, bills or relationship situations, there's a balance that takes place. But in order for the balance to take place, you have to have acceptance. The bill is what it is. It's not going away. I accept it, whatever, not going to live in it. In 6 months, that's not going to matter. And if in 6 months it does matter, then yes, you need to learn how to get over this, because you can't just live in that resistance. You just cannot. It's not going to work well. Relationships, if you're in a situation that you just, it doesn't feel the best to you, at some point, you have to look at the good in that person. You have to look at the good of why you're there. You have to, just let go of the things that you're not enjoying about it. You just have to let it go. Did you find that helpful? I mean, like we went through a lot today and I feel like there's so much more to cover with this.
It's a complex topic,
It
but I
is.
think, the key points is you really need to just have awareness that, just because you have a medical diagnosis doesn't mean like you had mentioned earlier, your body is failing you. Like there's other reasons. And really it's all about connecting these bridges of like what's going on with you emotionally and how that's affecting you physically, and really just becoming the detective in your life to understand these and heal yourself.
Right. Well, and it's just basically understanding that emotions, people don't like to think that they hold weight in any way, I guess I would say. Oh, just get happier, just get better, just don't think of it that way. But your emotions are your spiritual body indicator. They're built into your spiritual senses as well. So if there is some heavier emotions behind something, there's something going on with the spiritual body that's going, this energy doesn't feel good to me. So, like you said, it gets very complex, but the emotions are tied to your spiritual body and your emotional body. That's where they stem from. And so they are very important. And it's not always your perspective. A lot of times you're reading the energy of the situation. You're reading the energy of another person. And if that energy doesn't align with yours, or affects your frequency in a way that makes it feel not good to you, then you have an emotion about it. So, really, emotions are almost always based upon an energy that you're in touch with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, you're learning through emotion what energy you're liking and that works within your spiritual body, physical body frequency, and what energies don't feel good and you want to steer away from. Some of those can come from perspective. A bill of something that has broke down, that's a perspective. Oh my God, I don't have enough money. And then now we don't like the energy of that feeling of not having enough money that probably stemmed back to where you were very young or an event or whatever. Now we're getting into more of a complex situation. So, if that makes sense, 3 things to look for with Discord will be dreams, anxiety, and health. That's where Discord's going to show up. Understanding that most everybody has the tendency to justify their feelings and to stuff them way down somewhere in our frequency.
Yeah.
And the frequency doesn't lie. It is what it is. It's going to show you in your dreams. It's going to come out through anxiety, and it is going to be very apparent in health issues. Then you need to become your own detective and go back and go, where do these feelings stem from in my life? Is it a perspective? Is it an event? Is it from an experience? Where are they tied to? Then you need to remove your emotional state from it, look at it more factually, and figure out how to let go of whatever that is, how to be less resistant to whatever that is. For money and undue money things, we talk about the emergency fund or the emergency credit card. For relationships, you have to learn to just accept your situation or your relationship for what it is. If you're choosing to continue in whatever type of relationship it is, it might be even with parents or siblings or friends or whatever too. These things are very important, but you have to learn how to let go. You have to just learn how to go. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. I'm not candy coating it. I trust that I'm going through this to get to something better. I trust that that's the direction that I'm heading. I trust money will continue to flow into my life. It's a circuit. I trust that loving relationships are there and they're going to be in my life also. I trust that my guides, my intuition, my spiritual self is going to show me opportunity and bring me clarity and head me that direction. But in order to do that, you can't be resistant to the outcome. You have to be open to the outcome. You have to be open to change. You have to be open to changing your mindset. And you have to be open to seeing things factually, if that makes sense. Is that it? Do you have anything to add?
I don't think so.
That was a lot. I feel like that was heavy. That was a
But if
lot
there
of heavy
yeah,
stuff.
I was gonna say if anything was unclear or if people have questions, please leave those in the comments. And,
Yeah.
if we need to circle back and talk more on this, we definitely can.
Well, if we need to circle back and talk more, it'll be in my book. Because this type of stuff could, there's a lot to it. There's a
Yeah.
lot to unpack here. But I think that we can start with simplifying it in that way. All right. Well, thank you for joining in. And until next time, you want to go into the
Yeah, make sure you like today's video if it resonated with you, and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yes. And also don't forget to check out the Empowered Empath app. We actually have some trackers and things going on over there, conversations and exclusive podcasts that you will not see here or anywhere. So, except for in the app. And that link will be below. And yes, we will talk to you soon. Have the most amazing day. Aloha. Bye.
Bye.